Welcome to Cabin Fever on 956 Preps. I'm Jake Berry, and today I've got Coach David Cantu from Brownsville Veterans High School and Coach Tino Villarreal from St. Joseph's Academy. St. Joe's, I always want to say St. Joseph's, but it's just St. Joseph. Coaches, welcome, and thanks for joining me today.
Go ahead, Tino. Let you go first, man.
Well, Jake, thanks for having us on. I know that I've been watching the couple of episodes that you've had on here, and we're just so excited that you've always been a great supporter of RGB athletics and just the kids out here in every sport. You always keep us relevant and keep us up to date. You're like the ESPN of the Valley, and you're the innovator behind it. There's a lot of people that try to imitate and duplicate, but we're on with the original guy, and thank you very much for having us on.
Yeah, Jake, you watch ESPN, you see the different personalities on there, and you definitely have personality, charisma. You're a little bit unique and different, and I appreciate that. And the fact that you're allowing me to come on with Tino. Tino's one of my favorite people in the whole Valley and one of the coaches I admire most, and so thank you. It's going to be fun.
Well, you guys are one of the more productive coaches in the Valley. I mean, there's a lot of productive coaches winning-wise, playoff-wise. But you guys have had success in Brownsville, and there's been a trend lately that Brownsville kind of turned that hump, because for a while Brownsville, especially BISD, you guys were struggling with keeping coaches. It seemed like there was a rotation, and then all of a sudden Brownsville football, St. Joseph plus the high schools, the public schools, you guys have really raised the level there.
Well, I'll speak on BISD. I came over from Los Fresnos, went to Rivera for 2 years, and it was a great 2 years, and learned a lot and so forth, and lucky to be at Veterans now for 8 years. And yeah, things have changed, I think. And more than anything, it's just the attitude, the belief. I think Brownsville kids and coaches pretty much just got tired of that stigma of not being good at football. Maybe the other football, soccer, but no, football means a big deal in Brownsville, and it's helped that we've done things together to try to make ourselves better. I know Tino, very soon after I got to Veterans, set up a 7-on-7 league in the summer, and those types of things is what leads to success, doing all the little extra.
And Tino, when you took over St. Joe, they were a good program. They weren't elite. And then all of a sudden you guys started to, really air the ball out. You made it exciting. I don't want to say it wasn't exciting before, but you made it more exciting.
Well, thank you, Jake. Obviously, when you're blessed with amazing players, you can do a lot of great things. But being on the show with David, just to give you guys give you, Jake, a little insight. Brownsville is become what it's become because we're all friends. We all respect each other, and we work together. So how many times at Veterans Memorial High School, learning football from David, and like exchanging plays. Hey, look at this play. Oh, let me show you a play. And just trying to make each other better. Oh, David, you went to a clinic. Tell me about it. I didn't get to go. Can you kind of give me the highlights? And if I go to a clinic, vice versa. That's kind of bond and relationship. And it's all to make our own school and the city of Brownsville just better at everything we do.
I was looking at this, when you guys came into the program, Coach Cantu, you came into a program that was brand new, correct?
Well, they had 2 years of mainly sub-varsity football. During those 2 years, there were no seniors or juniors the first year. The second year, there were no seniors at the school. But they did play some varsity games. I know they played some like Corpus Christi Ray, I want to say possibly Miller, Port Isabel. So they got their feet wet, and they had some success. So the fact that Mark Guest had such a strong staff too, when he took on the AD role, it was a no-brainer to keep on one of his main men, Larry Vincent, as defensive coordinator. So that continuity really helped. And then I was able to bring in a few key people. Scott Robb, who was with me at Los Fresnos and Rivera, and he became my O-line guy, my offensive coordinator. Michael Moore, who was with me at all three places as well, and a guy, Pope Martinez, who I worked with at Pace. So it was just kind of the perfect timing. And then Sammy Montalvo was already at Veterans. And Sammy was someone, when I was an athlete at Los Fresnos, he came in my senior year with Coach Jesus Amaya. And so I got to play for Sammy. And then lo and behold, we coached together at Los Fresnos for a while. I was a middle school coach and a freshman coach, and then 1 year on the varsity staff with him, 2002, with Scott Ford and those guys. And then he left and I left, and we went our separate ways for a while, but he was at Veterans, and he's been kind of my right-hand man the whole time. He wasn't my offense coordinator at first because he was a head track coach, but he has been the last 5 years or so.
You know, for your guys' first coaching jobs, your first head coaching jobs, what was it like going into the situations that you're in? Because they're pretty unique, because you don't always get that sweet spot where you get into a program that you can win early, but also create longevity.
Go ahead, Tino.
Yeah, I'll chime in on that. I mean, before I became a football coach, I was a business person and owned 14 restaurants, which is a random fact as well. And then I started coaching and loved it, fell in love with it, and knew that this was my passion. This is what would make me happy, and try to figure out ways to always be ahead of the curve at some point. I took a flight to Oregon, paid for it myself, tried to go learn from Chip Kelly, sat in his office, waited 8 hours one time just to visit with him. And so I've always been that guy that will do something random to get ahead of the curve. And getting my first shot at St. Joe, it's a tough place to coach at. You know, a lot of people think it's pretty easy. You got to pay $12,000 a year tuition. You know, people think that we have a bunch of money sitting there and scholarship athletes and recruit them. And I always tell people, Jake, I do recruit athletes. If they can pay $12,000 a year to come play, absolutely, we want you on our campus. You know, but we don't give athletic scholarships. It's tough to compete at that level when you're asking kids to come pay a lot of money to be part of our program. So we're limited. And like you said, I try to make it exciting, try to make it fun. And the biggest stigma for us is we just get left out of Valley. The Valley kind of forgets about us once non-district is out of play, because all our opponents are in San Antonio, Austin, and north of here. So, you know, we've had some marquee wins over some great programs, and it's been just an exciting journey to try to make St. Joseph relevant and competitive across the state.
Yeah, Jake, if I can speak on my first head coaching job, because a lot of people right now, they think of me and they think I've been in Veterans from the beginning, but no, it was February and I was offense coordinator at Los Fresnos, and without my wife's permission, I went ahead in December or so, applied for the Brownsville Revetta job, and all of a sudden I'm getting interviewed, and all of a sudden I got to tell my wife, and she was upset because I think people kind of knew there was about a 5-year span where Revetta had won 6 or 7 games combined. So I think we did an analysis and looked at it, and I was excited because going to a program that obviously it could do better and you could go in there and build on something, you know, that was exciting to me. But and then they had a couple of individuals, couple of players that stood out. I was a baseball coach at Los Fresnos, and I'll never forget when J.J. Sanchez, who ended up being my quarterback when I went to Revetta, he pitched against us, I think, a 9-inning game as a freshman, and we ended up winning the game 2-1, but he stayed in there the whole time and was just a flat-out winner. So I knew I was going to inherit him his senior year. But going there was extremely difficult. I did not feel accepted by 90% of the staff. I think by the time we got to the 3rd or 4th week there, most of that staff had gone to other high schools in Brownsville, or they took off to middle schools in Brownsville. So all of a sudden it's a month into, or maybe a month and a half into being at Revetta. And it's just, for a while, it's just me and this other guy named Edward Garcia. We called him Wall. And I remember looking at Wall and saying, holy cow, Wall, at Los Fresnos, we had like 15, 18 coaches in our athletic period. Here we got 2. So let's do it, man. Today I got the skill guys outside. You lift them. Tomorrow I'll take the linemen outside. You lift the skill guys. And it was that kind of craziness for a little while at Revetta. And then also there was a little bit of, the attitude was difficult. I remember having one of the first meetings with the staff, the current staff there in the morning, and telling the guys, look, this is what we're going to do, and this is our plan, and when we get to the summer, we're going to have our strength conditioning camp, and da-da-da-da-da. And a couple of guys started nodding their head in disagreement, and I called them out and said, what's the deal? Why are we nodding our head? You know, why are we not agreeing with what I'm saying? And a couple of coaches spoke out and said, Coach, it ain't like that here at Revetta. We can barely get our kids to come the first day of practice. We got to go and drive and find some of them and knock on doors, and and you want them to come in the summer. The attitude was they're not going to come, but we did it, and it wasn't something I was asking. We were going to do it, and that summer we ended up having about 28 to 35 guys every single day, and built on that. Had a pretty good year that first year. Rivetto beat everybody in Brownsville, and then the second summer after my second year, it was June when they reassigned me to what's called the Wellness Center at BISD. But we had almost near 100 kids at our summer. It was the second day of summer conditioning camp. So I was really proud of what we accomplished. Our athletic periods, when I first went there, the two classes had about 28 to 32 combined. I was coming from a school where we had near, 101 and 70 in the freshman class. So when we left, I know we more than doubled the numbers. So real proud of what we did at Rivetto.
It's incredible too, because I actually forgot about that. I forgot that, you had started at Rivetto, because, you're synonymous now with Brownsville Vets. But here's kind of a off-topic question for both of you. Coach Cantu, for a while you were known, and you probably still are, you have the best hair in the business, but it seems like Tino has, you've kind of taken this mantle on. Is like, I see the pictures of you lifting now, you're jacked. What's been this transformation, Tino?
Well, health. Really, the very first thing that got me here was health. I was coaching against Austin St. Michael's, and it was a pretty hectic game. It was down to the wire. As a matter of fact, Dave Evans, who's on David's staff now, was my guest speaker, pregame speaker, and he motivated our team. And it was a school we hadn't beat in a long time at St. Joe, and it was to keep us in the hunt for a district championship. And I'll never forget, raising my voice at halftime, and I walked into the office, and I had to sit down, and our trainer had to take my blood pressure. I really thought I was gonna pass out. I didn't feel well, and the rest of that game, I was just not feeling well at all on the sidelines. After the game, when it was all said and done, we were able to pull the Kai Money miracle there at the end, and we beat that team, and everybody celebrated, and not a lot of people know that I went straight to go get checked to the ER, to go see how, I just wasn't feeling right. And my blood pressure was, I think 192 over 126. And so I went to the heart doctor. I went to the Heart Institute, got EKG and stress test and everything else. And, my doctor just recommended that maybe getting a less stressful job or losing weight were the only two options. And I didn't think twice about that. I love coaching, and I decided, to look into gastric sleeve surgery. And 2 years ago, I got surgery, gastric sleeve surgery, and since then, kind of keeping the weight off has been my motivation. Being in the weight room and running around, staying as fit as possible is kind of a new passion for me. But it was health related. Now just posting anything just kind of keeps it exciting. But it was definitely for health.
And both you and Coach Cantu, you guys are active on social media, and it's not just your programs that you promote. You're promoting the other programs under you. Why do you guys feel that's important?
Well, Tino, I guess I'll take this one first. I just think it brings some excitement, some enthusiasm. It shows that we're proud of what they're doing, and I kind of put myself in their shoes in regards to the athletes. And these kids are sacrificing summers. They're working their tails off. They do a lot, and they're student athletes. Some of them are taking AP courses, dual enrollment, and then so they had a great game, or a team does something super. I think it's just a little, kind of almost like a little thank you that we can give back to them, and it's not hard to do at all.
We've actually had this talk at one of our lunches about being the athletic coordinators on our campus, and we always it's funny because we don't verbally compete against each other, but I know that David and I share a lot of things. How can we make our campus the best campus in Brownsville, right? And I always look at what he's doing right now with Where Are They Now? And I'm super jealous because I'm behind the eight ball now on that. And now I'm going to have to copy David and go, where are they now on Twitter? Because that's an awesome idea to highlight former players. But we've always talked about, we love our campus, and every kid that is part of our program, whether they play football for us or not, male, female, everyone deserves the same amount of recognition. Every sport is just as important to us. I know that, whenever we have a chance to compete, I always see David. I mean, he's always at swim meets, at the aquatic center. He's everywhere. And that's important, because you're not just the head football coach as athletic coordinator, athletic director of a school. You are the head coach of the school. And if people can see you that way, that just speaks volumes for your program in general, because you're able to control the tempo and the outcome of what it means to be a bloodhound and what it means to be a Charger, not just as a football athlete.
I asked this to some of the other coaches, Manny Gomez, the other day. Right now, because it's difficult, especially, Tino, I'm not sure what you guys are doing at St. Joe's, but what do you do right now to keep track of your kids, because you don't get to see them?
Well, we have a Google Classroom that was set up by Sammy Montalvo, the coach I mentioned earlier. On there, we've been given schemes, football stuff. Coach Dave Evans goes on there too. So we have assignments, we have workouts there. I also have the kids on Remind, so I can message them daily on the workouts. On Remind also, every day, Monday through Friday, we send a little message out. Monday is Monday morning message. So I'll send out a 5-minute clip of Jimmy Valvano's Never Give Up speech or something to that effect. Tuesdays, Turn Back the Clock. So we'll show something when us coaches, when we were high school pictures of us in football, or junior high football pictures of guys, or college football pictures of Dave Evans. The kids, I think they're enjoying that. Wednesday, Tino mentioned it, we're doing Where Are They Now? So I'm just reaching out to a couple guys here and there, and I think that's always fun to do, just to see how kids are doing. Thursday, we're doing Throwback Thursday. For us, it's looking nothing but Charger football, and it's past. So we went back to, I sent the first staff picture that Mark Guess had and talked about what they did at the beginning. Last week, we did the 2012 season and what they accomplished. And then today, in a little while, I'm going to send out the 2013. So the kids understand their history. I know it's not a lot of years. It's only been 10 years, but still there is a history there. And there's been a lot of great coaches and kids. And also, I've been able to, there's a University of Georgia strength coach, Sinclair, who every day has about a 2-minute video on Twitter. And I just forward that to the kids. Again, his name's Coach Sinclair. And it's usually something you can do at home. Like today's was, all you need is a towel and a partner. And I watched it. Tim and his wife were doing different exercises at home. Are they doing it? I don't know, but I hope so. And the final thing we're doing is we've been doing since this started, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Zoom meetings, offensive and defensive meetings. And that's gone well. We are taking this Friday off because it's Good Friday, but we've been able to see about 95% of our kids on there. So that's what we've done.
Well, we're a little bit limited. St. Joe is right now, we talk about student athlete, and student comes first, obviously. At St. Joe, their bell schedules, classes, via distance learning. The kids are really getting used to that. I do feel they're a little overwhelmed as far as the schoolwork is concerned. So we're in a kind of block schedule where Tuesdays are our days where the kids are not in class. But they do have class Monday, Thursday, Friday. So we haven't started any kind of meetings yet as far as football is concerned. But we do have every day a Bloodhound Hour, and it's for them to log in. And we do a live training via Zoom, where they can go in, and we're doing live training as far as weight training and things that they can use at home to do weight training. And so we have a lot of our kids. We've opened it up to the entire campus on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and so male and female, every sport can log in, and it's a guided workout for them called the Bloodhound Hour from 5 to 6 p.m. But we plan to start the football. We normally would have started spring ball the last week of April. So the last week of April through the second week of May, we're going to definitely implement throughout the week as well. just to be able to do a lot of learning and a lot of important things that sometimes we think. Those are the things that we need to kind of look at right now.
All right, you guys have known each other for a while now. You guys go to lunch and all that kind of stuff. What is one thing that you guys talk about that's not football? Like, do you guys talk NFL? Do you guys talk movies? What's the one thing that's not football related that you guys talk about?
I tell you what stood out to me after meeting Tino was the fact that he was a part of the National Hispanic Institute. And the reason why is because as a student in high school, I was able to go to NHI, or Lorenzo de Zavala, and it was sponsored by NHI. And I got to meet some of the key people there that ran the program. And it was a week at Southwestern University there in Georgetown. And it was it was a kind of a student government type of thing where we all were either congressmen or lawyers or whatever. I was like a Supreme Court justice there. And so we tried cases and so forth. So I was just really blown away by the whole experience. And the Nietos ran that. And then when Tino started saying he knew those people and so forth, I know that I started asking him more questions about that. I know he spent some time doing it. So we spent, that just really intrigued me. And the fact that Tino worked for him. But Tino, I don't know if you
Coach, did we lose you?
remember some of those conversations.
Oh. Okay, sorry, Coach. I thought we lost you for a second.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of things. Obviously, about our families, about this health and well-being. As football coaches, you can't stop, but most of our conversations are going to revolve around just the rumor mill. Hey, did you hear about this? Hey, did you hear about that? But what's funny is that a lot of things that we do talk about that are not football related, we just talked about, is food. We talk about our favorite foods, like if we rate restaurants, like, well, the service over there maybe is not the best, but the food is the best. And so we're kind of our own food critics. But we do everything from being athletic coordinators of campus, how we can just better serve our students, leadership. When we talk about NHI, almost our conversations range from all sorts of stuff. And we have like my best friend is Mike Evans, who worked for Dave and loves David to death. And so we have that mutual friends stuff. So we always share stories of, hey, did you hear about this? That Mike, and so we're always just busting each other up about friends, also conversations.
Oh, that's very cool. I look at it this way. You guys seem to have this. Well, there's a brotherhood in coaching, but you guys seem to have a nice relationship there in Brownsville. And a lot of people would think there would be some rivalry because you're right there. I mean, I was in Edinburgh for 12 years, and I remember, you didn't really like the other schools, but it seems like you guys, especially in Brownsville, you guys really have something like it's a unity there between St. Joe's and the public schools.
Our personal relationships have helped. Like I said, I've met David. He even invited me. I was there at the backyard that you see at his house right there. He had a coaching barbecue years ago, and I felt honored. He invited me over to. I didn't even know his coaching staff. He's like, "Why don't you come over? I'm having the coaches. We're having a barbecue." And so I've been there to David's backyard. He's come over to my spring game. Has been on the sidelines there with me. But it comes down to personal relationships. I grew up with Carlos Uresti. Carlos and his brother Luis and I have mutual friends since they were players at Rivera. I was a player at St. Joe. His defensive coordinator, Raul Gomez, and I and his brother, Roland Gomez, we go way back when they were at Porter and I was at St. Joe. Danny Pardo was a part of the St. Joe coaching staff when I was at St. Joe. So Danny and I have known each other for a real long time. You look at Beto Leal. Beto Leal was also a coach for me at St. Joe. And Beto's now he has the Rivera job. So Beto and I can go back to when I was in middle school football, all the way through high school football with Beto. And we've talked about the David and I relationship. And so, I mean, you look at Mark Guess, well, obviously when he was the athletic director, I got to know him because he was down the street from St. Joe. And St. Joe and BISD, you know, I know there's a lot of independent school districts that have stopped play with the ideas and the private and charter schools. And St. Joe and BISD have had a working relationship for, you know, over 80 years. And there's times where the city meet, there was something wrong with the discus ring, and we would go down the street and throw it at St. Joe, or do something at St. Joe, and back and forth. BISD and St. Joe have really had a strong relationship, and these personal relationships only make it easier to work with each other. We're always on that. We're invited to the city meet, and even though it's a BISD run deal, they still always include us, and we're so honored to be a part of that. But it is awesome, Jake, to know that you're part of the community, even though you're the odd man out, because the big schools, but St. Joe's really Brownsville. But we've always felt embraced. It's awesome.
And I've seen coaches at your first practice of the year. You know, your midnight practice. I've seen coaches there. I'm not sure if it was Coach Cantu. Last time I was there a few years back. I think Kai was still in. Was a junior, I think, or a senior. But you had coaches from Brownsville there watching your practice.
Yeah,
so you know, it's got to be pretty cool.
We've always been open and you know, welcoming to anybody. Just as David's been welcoming at his campus, I've gone over there and to their offices, and I've checked out their athletic period, which is very well organized, and you know, just learn from each other. I think that's awesome.
So, coaches, what do you guys have planned this summer? If you know everything gets lifted, what do you guys? What's your family vacation look like?
Wow, family vacation. We've talked about taking a trip and going to the Grand Canyon, just driving. My wife likes to drive places, so that's a possibility. But that would probably be it for us. We're talking about Disney. My little girl's in first grade right now, so we're getting close to that age. And my son, well, he's a second semester at pharmacy school, but I don't think he's going to get a break. But those are just a couple things we've thrown around.
Well, every summer, Jake, I travel to Europe. I go for about 20 days to Europe, and I get to see that side of the world. I don't know if that's going to be possible this summer. So, right? I don't know if that's going to happen. But for 5 years in a row, I've had the opportunity to take students from St. Joe, and we go for about 20 to 24 days, and we try to hit 5 to 6 countries every summer. So definitely I'm going to miss that. Right now, the only plans that get lifted are just to actually, well, funny enough, to go back to school. I think to be around summer workouts and to be around the school would feel like an out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping you guys get back in because it would make my job a whole lot easier. You know, to actually have video of players actually doing stuff other than what I see on social media where they're working out at home. It'd be nice to see them in groups again.
Yeah.
So my last thing is this. You know, somehow you were able, you know, I don't want to bring up recruiting or anything like that, but you were able to bring somebody out of retirement. You recruited somebody into your program, Tino, that was a Brownsville staple for a few years, you know, and that's Coach Starkey. How are you able to bring him back out?
Like I told you, Jake, I'm always recruiting, man. I wish I could offer scholarships. I can't. I'm always recruiting, man. I'm always trying to look to bring the best people to our campus as possible. And when Jason's kids, well, when Jason first moved down, the same way I have a friendship with David, Jason and I would go to lunch all the time. Jason and I would meet quite often to talk about football. And so even then we knew that our friendship was, you know, it was going to last because we had a lot of similar interests. Long story short, Jason's son, Reed, was at St. Mary's School, which is one of our feeder Catholic schools. And we always would joke like, oh, Jason, you know, I'm going to coach Reed one day and Reed's going to come play at St. Joe. And, you know, the Starkey family needs to be part of St. Joe. so that was always going on. And Reed's a sixth grader, and it's time to make a decision where he's going to go to middle school. And my biggest thing was to get Reed to St. Joe, and so convincing not only Jason obviously wants what's best for his kid, and it's talking to Jason and his wife and the kid, and you have to take the test to be part of St. Joe. And so I think recruiting Reed was the way to recruit Jason, because now that Jason's son is going to be part of St. Joe, it makes it a lot easier to I mean, Jason was born to coach, and he took some time off because he wants to spend time with his family. Well, guess what? His family is now going to be at my school. So it gives him a golden opportunity to still be part of his family while he doesn't have to be at every game and at every meeting as a coordinator. You know, it can now be something that he does part-time, but gets to feel his love and passion for football.
Very cool. All right. I only got a couple minutes left because Zoom's going to make me upgrade. Here's the last question I have. When you guys are working out, or Coach Cantu, when you're cutting trees in the in your backyard there, what's the one thing you're listening to?
Okay, well, I think David's going to hop back on. He's maybe having some, but funny. I listen to a lot of things, which is, I'll tell you the funniest one. The kids have gotten me in to like the modern day rappers. I never thought, I'm an old school rap guy. I graduated in the 90s, so I'm more of the old school rap, and I never thought I would appreciate or like the current rap. But you know, when I get into the weight room, it's either going to be a rap day with all these new rappers and that the kids listen to that have gotten songs in my head. But my old school faithful, which is a go-to when I need it, is rock and roll. I love rock and roll, and I love listening to rock and roll. It depends what mood I'm in. If it's a push day, if I'm gonna have to push hard, Jake, you definitely best believe that Metallica and AC/DC and Guns N' Roses and things like that will be playing.
Coach Cantu, before we got cut off, I asked the question. We got a couple minutes left before Zoom kicks me off. What's the one thing when you're chopping trees in the backyard or working out? What's the one thing you're listening to on your phone or your iPod or wherever you're listening with? Oh no! Hold on 1 second, Coach.
His audio is off.
Coach, can you hear us? Oh no.
He can hear us, but I think we can't hear him.
Yeah, let's try it one more time. Oh no. All right, we'll see if he gets back on. We got about 4 minutes here before this thing kicks me off. So Tino, the last time I talked to you though, you were in Italy.
That's right.
So that was pre-coronavirus, but yeah, it's a shame what's happening over there. I'll cut this part out here it is again.
Fine. Yeah, I think the most important thing, Jake, for people in what's going on right now is to find a routine. You know,
can you hear us, Coach, or can we hear you?
No, we can't hear him.
No, I'll just text him right now.
Yeah.
Have to log off. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it looks like it's still not going to work. But hey, Coach, if you can hear me, we're about to get kicked off of Zoom, but so I'm going to have to close this. But I did want to say thank you to both of you guys for joining us. And Coach Cantu, we'll find out what your music choices are when you're chopping trees and working out. But I appreciate you guys joining me today, and it's awesome because I love having multiple coaches on. Let's try to do a Brownsville round robin sometime where we have all the Brownsville head coaches on and we can talk football. But thank you so much for joining.
Well, Jake, like I said, thank you. And I know that David's having a little audio deal there, but we're always appreciative of you, the work that you do. You know, you're awesome. Keep doing it. You know that whatever help and support you need, we're here for you. And we just love watching what you do. And the kids definitely really are the ones that ultimately benefit from it the most, because it gives them exposure and it gives them an ability to put their name out there, and it gives them a shot, you know, to chase their dreams and stuff like that. So as always, Jake, thank you for having us here, and whatever you need, Brownsville's here for you, man.
Thank you both. I appreciate it. Bye.